The first time Ryan heard a baby cry, he was in Syria. Dust in the air, sirens screaming in 3 different directions, and a child wailing somewhere under broken concrete. Back then, he ran toward the sound, heart in his throat, hands shaking, because saving that child was the only thing that made sense that day. Years later, sitting in a paternity courtroom with a borrowed tie and his medals hidden in a drawer at home, he hears another baby sound. This time it's a soft little giggle from an 18-month-old girl in the hallway, playing with a plastic doll whose hair is a tangled mess. Her name is Lily. She calls him Dada, and he doesn't know if he's allowed to believe it. While the audience settles, the cameras focus, and the judge flips through papers, Ryan's stomach knots so hard it almost hurts. On paper, he's a veteran who fought for his country in the Syrian war. In real life, he's just a tired man trying to find out if the one beautiful thing that came out of a broken marriage is actually his. And if the DNA test says she isn't? For him, it'll feel like another explosion. Only this time, it'll go off inside his chest. Before he was the Syrian war veteran, Ryan Thompson was just the guy from the corner garage. He worked as a mechanic in a cramped shop that smelled like oil, metal, and burnt coffee. He liked the routine: show up early, switch on the same old radio station, slide under different cars, and make broken things function again. That's where he met Harper. She pulled in late one Friday, her car coughing out a cloud of white smoke, and her face stuck between embarrassment and desperation. "I swear it wasn't making that noise yesterday," she said, tapping the dashboard like the car had betrayed her on purpose. Ryan listened for 2 seconds and shrugged. "It's your exhaust," he said. "And yeah, it was making that noise. You just weren't listening." She laughed. That quick, bright kind of laugh that sneaks into your head and stays. 6 months later, she wasn't just bringing the car. She was bringing coffee, then bringing herself. They got married in a low-budget church hall, with supermarket cake and a borrowed band that played off-key covers. But her smile was real, and the way she looked at him made Ryan feel something he'd never really felt before. Like he was enough. Love, though, doesn't pay rent. When their first son was born, the bills got heavier. When the second came, they got heavier still. The garage didn't offer raises. The owner always said, "The market's tough," then showed up in newer and newer cars. One night, Ryan was at the kitchen table staring at their bank balance, baby monitor glowing beside him, when an ad on TV caught his eye. Bonuses for active duty. Extra pay for overseas deployments. He didn't think war. He thought numbers. He thought about fixing the torn couch, paying off late bills, getting better health insurance, being able to say, "Don't worry," when something broke, instead of, "Maybe next month." "It's just a couple tours," he told Harper, holding her hand across the kitchen table. "We get ahead. I come home. Things get easier." She watched the monitor where their baby was moving in his sleep. "You already feel gone most of the time," she whispered. "You leave early, come home exhausted. If you go, you'll be even further." "It's for us," he insisted. "For the boys." In the end, she said yes. Not because she wanted to, because she was scared of what would happen if she didn't. In Syria, Ryan's world shrank to 4 things: dust, radios, screams, exit routes. He worked as a combat medic. No formal degree, just intense training, and a willingness to kneel in the dirt beside anyone bleeding. At night, in a cramped metal container that passed for a room, the Wi-Fi came and went like a weak heartbeat. Sometimes he could see his sons on video, one showing a drawing, the other making silly faces at the camera. Harper appeared with dark circles and a tight smile. "I'm tired, but I'm okay," she'd say. "They miss you." "I miss you too," he'd answer, swallowing sand and emotion. "It won't be forever, I promise." He didn't know that by the time he came back, forever would feel different. The war outside his house would end. The one inside it was just getting ready to start. The betrayal didn't arrive as a confession. It arrived as a 15-second clip. Corporal Martinez was the one who brought it. They were on a rare quiet break. No incoming fire, no medevac scramble, just two men sitting on empty ammo crates, drinking instant coffee that tasted like hot regret. "Hey, Thompson," Martinez said, sounding uneasy. "Can I show you something? If I don't, I'll feel worse later." Ryan smirked, tired. "If it's another stupid cat meme, go ahead." "I could use something cute." Martinez didn't smirk back. He turned his phone around. The video was already playing. First came the purple and blue club lights. Then came a pair of high heels walking toward a metal pole. Then came the face. Harper. She spun around the pole with a painted red smile, hair loose, body Ryan knew by heart moving in ways he had never seen. Men crowded the stage, throwing money, cheering, holding up their phones. Someone had reposted the clip with a caption, "New star at the club." Ryan's heart just stopped. Then it kicked back in so hard his ears rang. "Is this edited?" he forced out. "Is this some kind of joke?" "Man," Martinez sighed. "My cousin lives in your city. This is from a local page. She sent it asking, 'Isn't this your buddy's wife?' I didn't want to believe it. But that's her, isn't it?" 1,000 different sounds rushed in at once. Distant rotors, boots, voices. But all Ryan could really hear was the bass from the video and the sound of his own pulse. He walked fast back to the container, dumped his gear on the floor, and yanked open his laptop. His fingers shook so much he mistyped his password 3 times. The Wi-Fi, for once, decided to cooperate. He opened Harper's profile. It wasn't a one-off. Photo after photo. Heavy makeup, nightclub lighting, captions with money bag emojis. Comments from men with profile pictures of cars and watches. "You killed it tonight. Need a private dance soon. Best thing that's ever happened to this club." Then he saw a pinned chat. A name he didn't recognize, next to a smirking emoji. He clicked. At the top of the screen, part of a message previewed, "Can't wait to see you after your set. Last few nights with you were insane." He didn't need to read the rest. His stomach dropped like he'd been shoved off a rooftop. The Wi-Fi flickered, warned it was about to drop. He had maybe seconds. He opened a new chat. "Harper, is this real?" She saw it almost instantly. No reply. Minutes turned into an hour. The connection cut. Came back. Cut again. Finally, an audio message came through. He put a headset in with shaking hands and pressed play. "You hacked my stuff, Ryan," her voice snapped. "We were done. You're halfway across the world. I'm doing what I have to do. Don't make this dramatic." "We were done?" His last memory of her on video was her whispering, "I love you, be safe," with tears in her eyes. He tried to call. The call failed. Outside, a boom rattled the walls and someone yelled his name. He slammed the laptop shut and ran toward the noise, muscle memory pushing him toward wounded bodies, not wounded pride. He wrapped tourniquets, pressed gauze into bullet holes, shouted for morphine. Adrenaline flooded in, doing what it always did, shoving everything else aside. But when night came, and the dust settled, and he lay on his bunk with the lights off, the images flickered behind his eyelids. Her on the pole, her in someone else's arms, her mouth forming other men's names. Out there, his job was to stop bleeding. In here, something had already started bleeding, and there was no bandage big enough to cover it. The homecoming ceremony looked like something out of a recruitment commercial. Flags, handmade signs, local news cameras, families packed along the railing of the small base lot, bouncing on their toes. One by one, soldiers stepped off the bus into arms that had been waiting for months. Kids ran, wives sobbed, parents clung like they would never let go again. Ryan stepped down with his duffel and his carry-on. into empty space. No one rushed toward him. No one shouted his name. He scanned the crowd. No Harper, no boys, no little faces with "Welcome Home, Dad" written in messy marker. The announcer read names into the mic. Every name came with cheers and waves. When Sergeant Ryan Thompson echoed across the speakers, it was followed by a weird, hollow quiet. A few people clapped politely. He lifted one hand in a small half-wave. It felt pathetic. He wasn't embarrassed of his service, but in that moment, standing there alone while everyone else dissolved into hugging knots of happiness, he felt exposed, forgotten. When the buses rolled away and most cars had left, Ryan sat on his suitcase under a lamp post, as if he were stranded at some bus stop no one had told him had moved. "Maybe she got the time wrong," he muttered to himself. "Maybe she's stuck in traffic. Maybe—" Half an hour later, he saw their car, the same one she used to bring to the garage, pull into the lot. Harper stepped out. Heels, tight dress, strong perfume made for nightclub air, not daylight. "Sorry I'm late," she said, not rushing to hug him. "Traffic was insane, and I was working late." "Working," he repeated, tasting bitterness. He glanced at the back seat. Empty. "They didn't come?" "I left them with my mom," she said lightly. "They'd just be running all over the place, and I didn't know if you wanted a big family scene after everything. After the club, after the video, after the months of silence. I came home for the family," he said quietly. The drive was thick with unspoken things. The radio stayed off. The only sounds were the road and the occasional notification from her phone. One of them lit up the screen with a name and a fire emoji. Ryan stared at it. Not Mom, not Sis. A man's name, with a little flame. He picked up the phone without asking and answered. "Hello?" A male voice on the other end laughed softly. "Hey, thought you'd be on stage by now. You heading to the club or what?" Harper reached over, panic in her eyes. "Give me the phone, Ryan. He's joking. It's marketing. It's not—" Ryan ended the call and set the phone face down. The silence that followed was worse than yelling. That night, they did yell. They threw words at each other like rocks. "You were never here. You lied to me. You left me alone. You chose that club. You abandoned us. You embarrassed me. You stopped touching me. You stopped being my wife. You stopped being my husband." Somewhere between the accusations and the exhaustion, something broke, and something else reached for it. They ended up in bed, not out of romance but out of a desperate, confused need to feel something that wasn't numb. It wasn't pretty. It wasn't healing. But it happened. A week later, Harper stood in the bathroom doorway with a drugstore test in her hand. 2 lines. "I'm pregnant," she said, tears in her eyes. "Maybe this is our reset, our sign." He wanted to believe that. Wanted it so badly it made his chest ache. But his brain had been trained to do ugly math. Dates, shifts, nights she worked late, times she didn't answer. The numbers didn't line up as neatly as the 2 pink lines in her hand. When Lily was born months later, tiny, dark-haired, letting out a short, angry cry, something inside Ryan burst open. She was beautiful. She was perfect. She was innocent. He held her in his arms and, for a moment, forgot everything. "Hey, Lily," he whispered. "I'm your dad. I think." The last word never made it out loud, but it echoed so loudly in his mind that even as he signed her birth certificate, his hand hesitated over the line. Name of father. He signed anyway. He just didn't sign away the doubt. Doubt is a slow poison. It doesn't knock you down all at once. It just eats away at everything good. On the outside, Ryan looked like a solid dad. He changed diapers, did late-night feedings, drove the boys to school, showed up to pediatric appointments. Neighbors called him such a devoted father, especially after everything he's seen in the war. On the inside, love and fear wrestled constantly. When Lily wrapped her tiny hand around his finger, warmth flooded his chest. Then a cold blade of thought slid in right behind. This hand should belong to her real father. And what if that's not me? When she toddled toward him shouting, "Dada!" with that lopsided baby grin, there was always a flicker of, would she run to any man who lived in this house? With his sons, affection was reflex. A kiss on the forehead, a playful shove, an "I'm proud of you, kid," whispered at bedtime. With Lily there was a half-second delay, a tiny pause, a mental checkpoint labeled danger attachment. Harper noticed. You can hide things from strangers. You can't hide this from a mother. You treat her differently, she said one night, voice tired instead of angry. She was in sweatpants, hair in a messy bun, dark circles under her eyes. Don't tell me you don't. I treat everyone differently now, he muttered. I'm not the same guy you married in that garage, remember? I went to a war. Don't you dare make this only about Syria, she shot back. Your trauma doesn't explain you staring at your own daughter like she's a multiple-choice question. He looked away. Is she my daughter, Harper? He asked. She froze, just for a second, but he saw it. You're really going to say that out loud? She whispered. After diapers and bottles and nights in the ER, you're going to pretend you're some random stranger she tricked into staying? Are you answering the question? He pressed, guilt and anger twisting together. Her shoulders slumped. The timelines are messy, she admitted. I was alone. I was mad at you. I did things I regret. Sometimes I'm sure it was when you were home. Sometimes I think it was before. I wasn't marking dates on a calendar, Ryan. I was just broken. So you don't know, he said. I know here. She pressed a hand hard against her chest. But I get that your brain doesn't trust my heart right now. It was Harper who finally said the word DNA. Then let's take this where there's no maybe, she told him. A court, a test, a judge. Get the truth, because I can't watch you punish a child one more day for grown-up mistakes. He resisted at first. Putting their mess on national TV felt like the final humiliation. But every time Lily flinched at his hesitation, every time she looked confused when he pulled back a little too quickly, the shame tasted worse. I'll do it, he agreed at last. But if that test says she's mine, I'm going to have to look in the mirror in a way I've been avoiding. The courtroom set looked half like a TV studio, half like a church. Wooden benches, bright lights, a seal on the wall, cameras tucked into corners. Ryan sat on one side of the room, suit jacket too stiff on his shoulders. Harper sat on the other, hands knotted so tight in her lap, her knuckles blanched. The judge entered. Everyone stood, then sat. The usual script. This is the case of Thompson versus Thompson, the announcer read. Questions of paternity regarding minor child Lily Thompson. First they told their stories. Ryan didn't try to turn himself into a saint. He talked about Syria, yes, about blood and dust and fear. But he also talked about the club, the video, the messages, and the way he'd let that doubt drip onto Lily. I'm not here to win, he said finally. I'm here to find out if I failed only as a husband, or as a father too. Harper didn't pretend to be an angel. I cheated, she said plainly, voice shaking. I danced in a club. I liked feeling wanted. It's ugly, but it's true. I was lonely and angry, and I chose the worst way possible to deal with it. I know I hurt him. I know I humiliated him. But I did not wake up wanting to break our kids. The judge listened, then pinned them both with a steady look. Do you both understand, she asked, that whatever happened between you two, Lily did not ask to be born into this mess? I know that, Ryan said, eyes shining. In my heart I know that. And yet, the judge pressed, You admit you've kept her at arm's length because of your fear. He nodded once. I was terrified of loving her with everything I had, and then losing her, he said. In war, you learn not to get too attached. I brought that home, and I laid it right on top of her little head. The envelope came out. White, ordinary, heavy. The results we have today are from an approved DNA laboratory, the judge began. In the case of Thompson versus Thompson, regarding minor child Lily Thompson, Ryan's heartbeat pounded in his ears. Harper's eyes were squeezed shut. The probability of paternity is 99.99%. She looked directly at him. Mr. Thompson, she said, you are Lily's biological father. For a second, he didn't move. The words took a long route inside him, like they had to walk through every dark corner first. Harper sobbed in relief, shoulders shaking. The crowd murmured. Somewhere, a camera zoomed in. Ryan exhaled like he'd been holding his breath for 2 years. I'm her father, he repeated softly, more to himself than anyone. You are, the judge said. And now you know. The question now is, what are you going to do with that truth? He swallowed hard. I need to apologize to her, he said. For every time I hesitated. For every hug I cut short. For every bedtime I sat in the doorway instead of sitting on the edge of her bed. He glanced at Harper. And I need to admit that I used her mistakes as an excuse to be half a father to a whole child. Harper wiped her face. I have plenty to make right, too, she said. I made choices that put a target on his trust. I turned our marriage into shrapnel. I don't know if we can ever be husband and wife again. But we still have to be mom and dad. The judge nodded. You both went to war, she said quietly. You just fought on different fronts. But from today on, the only battle that matters is the one for Lily's heart. When the cameras turned off and the audience started leaving, an assistant brought Lily in from the child care room. She barreled into view in a little yellow dress, hair bow crooked, clutching a stuffed rabbit by one ear. The moment she saw Ryan, her face lit up. "Dada!" she squealed, arms stretching out. There was no pause this time. He stood, crossed the room, and scooped her up like he was finally sure she belonged there. "Hey, Bug," he whispered into her hair. "I'm your dad, not just because some paper says it. Because from now on, I'm going to act like it." She smacked his cheek with an open baby hand and laughed. He laughed too, tears spilling freely now. All the noise from outside, the show, the war, the club, the judgment, faded for a moment. It was just a man and his little girl. Maybe no one on TV would ever fully understand what shifted in that moment. But Ryan did. He had spent years bracing for bombs, flinching at every loud sound. Now, finally, he let something else happen. He let love land without armor. And for anyone watching at home with their own kids climbing over the couch, the message was simple and sharp. No DNA test hurts more than loving a child with conditions. And once the truth is known, the real verdict isn't on paper. It's in what you choose to do with your heart.